What's up, Chad? What's going on, man? Anything going on?
Nothing at all, my friend. Nothing at all.
That's a beautiful day. Beautiful day.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood, as my old friend used to say.
Yes, sir. Got Chad THOReau. We got Pluto.
GM. How's it going, guys?
Good. How you all doing?
Good, good. This is FamiliarCow over here on the THORChain account, by the way. Welcome, everybody. This is one of the bigger spaces we've done recently, for sure. There's a ton of people in here. There's 155 people listening right now. So thanks everyone for showing up for this. Sorry, I was having some
Absolutely.
Twitter issues earlier. Yeah, so we want to get started, Chad.
Yeah, let's do it. So, first things first. Everybody's here. We're here to talk about lending. Um, it was determined by the THORsec team that due to current TSS issues, we've paused keygen or churning in general due to some TSS problems, and so it's determined that it's probably best to not launch a major feature on the network while the network's not in 100%, good standing. So I think the current thinking is that for in an abundance of security reasons and these kind of things, that will delay lending until 119 is adopted, and then once 119 is adopted and everything looks good, network is in a healthy state, all that kind of stuff, then we can go forward and launch lending.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that from the dev and security side. So the announcement's going to be hitting our Discord shortly. We thought that the best thing to do would be to come tell the community directly about this delay. The only thing that's preventing me from cutting that patch right now and getting that 119 released is that we actually had a disclosure. So it's a private disclosure. They asked us to keep it private, and it was a little bit ambiguous as to whether they wanted us to wait until their full disclosure period had lapsed to actually push out a patch to the cryptography component in question. So basically, we have to go back and forth with the disclosure and ask them basically if they're okay with us essentially publicly announcing by way of the patch of the existence of this bug. So it's a little bit of a rock and a hard place. Like our other option would be to just release basically a private release to validators, but that's something that we think is against the philosophy of open source protocol development, where everyone can see everything and verify all the code that they're running. So, this is just another example of where having a decentralized system that's properly decentralized is to the detriment of all of our wants and desires to ship lending as fast as possible, while also balancing the needs of the extremely important relationships that we have to security researchers that are helping contribute to this project. So definitely a hard decision, but the THORsec team felt that this was the best way forward for the lending project, to have its best launch possible. So yeah, that's a little bit of context as to the why. What we should look out for next is to essentially see a patch or an announcement to the community about whether we're going to pursue a private release. If the researcher in question asks for 30 to 90 days of us holding this from our public source code, we may be forced to move forward without that. So, this kind of also serves as a primer to the node community that that may be something that we ask of you, and that there will be religious verification of that before that does come out. So, it's obviously something we'd like to not do, but we don't want to be in a situation where we're pausing, our network from churning, we're pausing us from launching these massive new features because there's an active threat, and that disclosing it would put other projects in jeopardy. So we're acutely aware of all of the different possibilities here, and we think that the option that we've chosen to go with in this route and delaying lending at least by a few days is going to be the right one to take ultimately.
Yeah, especially launching a new feature with churning already paused. Yeah, I definitely seems like the right move to, I mean, and the right call just from the security angle of things. Obviously, taking an abundance of caution. Obviously, with everything from THORChain over the past like 2 years, just always taking an abundance of caution and not just just sort of YOLOing it, so to speak, and saying like, oh yeah, we can just launch lending right now. It definitely seems like the right move to say, all right, let's wait until things are in place. TSS is patched up to the latest standard, and we're ready to rock and roll. So like obviously everyone was like, we're all super psyched to get lending out today, and something we really want to see. But it's not anything that'll change over the next couple of days while these issues get sorted out.
Yeah, definitely very fair. We all put security number one, so I think the community appreciates this. Just to make it abundantly clear, so this has nothing to do with lending itself, right? It's just purely this TSS issue, and that puts the network in a state where nodes can't churn. So just waiting until that clears up, but like nothing actually relating to lending specifically, right?
Yeah, there's no known lending issue, so there's no changes being made to lending or anything like this. It's just patching a TSS issue and getting the network into 100% status before we move forward with a major feature.
Yeah,
Gotcha, yeah.
I just want to take a minute to remind everyone in the community that this project is built on open source cryptography protocols, which, in addition to all of the source code for our state machine and what actually powers THORChain being online and available for everyone in the public to see, so too is the encryption that we use. And THORChain is the first and biggest project to be doing this completely publicly. Everyone else who's utilizing this technology has the benefit of doing so in a more private setting where everything that we're doing is out in the open. And the size of this target keeps getting larger and larger as the network is growing. And so even last week there was a talk given at Black Hat 2023 about the threshold signatures cryptography that THORChain utilizes. So there's been renewed scrutiny from the cryptography community on these encryption methods. And so it puts us on heightened alert that there's a lot of smart people out there in the world that are looking at this technology right now and seeing that THORChain is one of the few publicly available, publicly accessible networks using it. So just out of an abundance of caution, again, we need to make sure that we get this right. And so we're going to be, working on additional rounds of auditing. There's going to be some tactical fixes. But we're looking to overhaul the system pretty much from the ground up as the next year or two shake out. So again, this is just very nascent technology, and we're doing our best with the community that's kind of formed around this multi-party computing phenomenon, and it's tremendously exciting to be working on the vanguards of cryptography and what's possible with these technologies. So, with all the benefits that they bring to us, there's also risks that need to be adjusted when when the current thought processes about the most advanced attack vectors becomes or leaks out slowly from sort of like the gut of the cryptography community, which is a very interesting place, I assure you. And it starts to make its way through the rumor mill to projects like us. So just rest assured that we'll continue to be on top of those things and patching them in a way that keeps the network as secure as possible at all times.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't want to kill the vibe there, but if people want to come up from the community, if there's questions, if people want to just voice anything, and there's a couple people who requested to come up. I don't know whether you just want to talk about lending or whether the people have questions about delays or TSS or anything like that. But it's pretty open like spaces that we do, so we'll try and like let as many people up here as possible just after we get all the business stuff out of the way, and then we can talk a little bit more just about we can talk about the lending launch. We can talk about the lending feature, and then. But of course, first we'd like to see if there's any questions just from anyone about the lending launch delay, or just about the launch in general.
One thing to note though, like for security reasons, we're not going to go into any kind of depth or detail about the TSS related things. I think that's not probably it's probably not bad par to do so. So if you have any questions about like specifically what's the TSS stuff, I don't think we can publicly kind of disclose that stuff, at least not at this point. Once things are patched, we're happy to kind of go into more detail at that point. But for right now, I think it's probably prudent that we don't go into the details about what about TSS is being changed or patched.
Real quick, I think we have about 100 more people than we had right at the beginning. So maybe Chad or Pluto, do you want to just give like a TLDR one-line synopsis of what we already said?
Yeah, sure. So under the recommendation of THORsec, we've decided to delay the lending launch. And this is due to a known TSS issue with the network. That's why we paused churning a couple days ago because of this issue. And we feel like it's probably best to not launch a major feature, and probably the largest feature that we've ever done since we launched multi-chain ChaosNet, and to not launch that major feature lending on the platform while the network's not in 100% known good state. And we have open hot fixes coming kind of downstream. So until version 119 is released and adopted by the community, I think we'll be delaying lending until that occurs.
Yeah, and real quick, we should probably just go through like what the timeline of that normally looks like, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't really keep up with the normal release cycles of THORChain. So, quickly, what does it look like to actually get 119 out, released, and fully adopted, and then getting the show on the road for lending?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the only thing that's preventing me from releasing the patch right now to validators, it's already been tested. We basically know that this is the right solution. So the only thing that's preventing us from releasing it right now to validators is the fact that in doing so, we would essentially be publicly disclosing its existence because of the nature of all of our encryption technology being open source. So we have two options. We can either do a private release, which basically just means we tell the validators, hey, trust us, this binary contains the most up-to-date, crypto protocols, and we promise that as the devs, there will not be something bad in there. That's obviously not ideal, although networks do that all the time. The Cosmos network has been known to do that kind of thing. So it's not unprecedented, but it's just not generally a good form when it comes to running a decentralized network. So the other option is to wait until we have the go-ahead from the security researcher that disclosed this to us, that we can patch it publicly and move forward that way. So we want to at least give that researcher 12 to 24 hours to respond to our inquiry. And if they say, yeah, sure, go for it, then the patch will come almost immediately. If they say no, then we'll discuss with the node operator community if they feel comfortable with doing a private release of a binary signed by both the core team and Nine Realms. So, those are the two options right now. And those could range in amounts of time. But I'd say the earliest we could look to launch lending if we hear back from this node operator is in the next few days. So the good thing is that yes, we've already found the issue, and it's just a matter of how and when we can publish it.
Cool. Sounds great. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we all appreciate the attention to security, and yeah, down to be patient. Anyways, so yeah, we have a few people up if anyone wants to chime in questions. I see Chris Grassroots Crypto's up here. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, or whoever's looks like Patriot's unmuted. Go for it.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think a lot of people are here because of the success of this protocol recently. And I know it's a little deflating a little bit for lending to be postponed, but I think most people in this community understand that you guys take security very seriously, and that takes precedent. So I don't think you guys should beat yourself too much at all. And I think this is probably the right call. And I actually came up here because I'm super excited and happy because, don't mean to change the subject, but streaming swaps has been an incredible blowout success. And the people I've been talking with, whether it's on a Twitter space or privately in DMs, they can't believe it. And so I am so excited and so happy right now. Lending gets postponed. Okay, so be it. You know, I wasn't planning on using it personally, but the explosive growth of this protocol, the adoption, all the people talking about it, whether it's Masari or all these different crypto influencers, what a time to be in this project. And it's so vindicating. We've been just getting kicked in the face, it feels like, for the last couple of years. And to finally the vision is coming to fruition. And we get to stand like tall with our back straight. We get to say, yeah, this is what we were trying to do. So I actually came up here to tell you guys thank you so much, because I'm just so happy. I can't put it any other way. Thank you guys.
Cool. Thanks, man. Crypto Sailor. And some other people too.
Yeah, I got you. Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, from my perspective, maybe I come from a different kind of angle, having worked so much in application security. I'm very happy that this approach has been taken. Security should always be number one, especially with open source decentralized protocols. In some scenarios, there may be unrecoverable catastrophic results that you can't anticipate, etc. So this is the appropriate approach to take, and it's a good sign and indicator of what is a very strong team behind a very good protocol that's taking the most important things at the highest priority, which is security. And it does not, I don't think, hinder, of course, anything related to the launching of lending in terms of, its effect or performance or whatever. And it is a great time to, let's say, talk a little bit more or focus a little bit more on a great feature that's already been released and maybe the market hasn't even fully digested yet, and that is the streaming swaps. So great job to the team in putting priority on security first. 100% confidence.
Yeah, at this point, I'm going to sound just like a broken record. I was coming up here to say the exact same thing. Thank you, devs. Thank you, everybody, for prioritizing security and rolling this out slow. So let's keep it up. And just on a slight aside, obviously, we're in a little bit of a down candle right now with this news, but that's just a good thing, too, because lending is going to be, the lower the room price is when lending starts, when that first loan goes out, the more likely we are to be successful. So always look for that silver lining, and just so impressed with THORChain and streaming swaps, and let's just keep it going. Thanks, everyone.
Yo, I just want to say, I think that given the amount of interest, particularly with lending, a lot of questions and stuff like that, maybe it's a good thing. It gives more time for people to learn more about lending, learn more about THORChain, see the benefits, learn about streaming swaps. So whilst I was as pumped as everyone else to see lending go live, there's a lot of benefits to go, to have additional time to ensure that everybody's understands the process and takes that time to understand what THORChain's about, what lending is about, given all the extra attention, and the benefits that come with it. Cool.
Hey, Cibos.
Hi guys. Hello everyone.
What up?
Yeah, it's a bit late from my part of the world, but good morning to everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are. I would just want to say that we have been able to show the people in the space the potential that THORChain has, and the developers who have been putting their hard work after, especially the mainnet was released. So I think the people have now woken up to THORChain after a long time, and this is a good thing. And many people will now have their eyes on this project. So hats off to the developers. And since this is a big chapter to THORChain and can redefine the whole of DeFi space, I think it's better to be safe first than sorry. So I think let's be a little bit more patient and just wait for the heads up from our developers. Thanks.
I think I'm on. But just to say, I've been around since the start. I think what you guys have pulled off, right from the beginning. This is the right call. I think it's interesting because everybody had been bashing about marketing and that there was no marketing. And I think, with streaming swaps having launched only recently, and now lending, we've just got the best marketing of all in that we get to extend it for another while. But I just think, look, security is paramount. For anybody who was around through the original hacks 2 years ago, I think we all know what that means. Slow and steady, it's a marathon. And I think what we're delivering on in this project is something that DeFi needs. And I think just the small delay, right, it's perfect. And you guys are handling it well. And anybody who hates on us, they were only in it for the quick win, and that's not really what we're about. So from that perspective, kudos, guys. I'm a huge fan of the way you've handled this.
I also think it'd be like one thing to say right now is just about launching things in such a decentralized network, because obviously there's a ton of different actors that are involved. There's Nine Realms, there's THORsec, there's the OG core team on the THORChain infrastructure side. Then you have the front ends, and then you have everybody in the community. Then you have people that are trying to make swaps. Then you have people who are trying to come out and take loans. And it's a huge effort to coordinate a launch when you're not a vertically oriented company. Like there's no one person that's like, hey, we need to, this is the date that we're going to launch lending, and these are the teams that are going to do this. Is all self-organized and self-directed. And while today was definitely the goal to say like, hey, everything is ready from the protocol side to ship. It just turns out that it's quite difficult to organize a bunch of decentralized actors when there's not one person that's de facto in charge and really calling the shots. So I mean, definitely huge shout outs to everyone that's involved in the ecosystem, especially the front ends who do a lot of coordination to try and make this thing happen. And when we finally launch lending, things are just going to come together even stronger. So I don't think it'll be long at all, hopefully, till we launch lending. But either way, it's coming. So there's not really a lot of ways to launch features in such a decentralized environment. It could just be flipped on in the back end, and then nobody can really use it because it's not available on THORswap. It's not available on Lens yet. So there's just a ton of coordination going on behind the scenes. So just shout out to everyone that's actually making things happen and really just moving everything around to make this work. And it's people all over the world too, obviously. So it's quite a monumental effort to actually get things moving like this. But we're right here at the finish line essentially. So looking forward to actually getting this thing live in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I know the front end devs hadn't slept in a few days, so they're probably already knocked out after this news. So it gives them some time to get caught up.
And Prime Directive, I know I brought you up as well, and the Crypto Lifestyle.
Hey, you got me?
Yep, we hear you.
Awesome. I agree that I think the timing is perfect to launch lending directly on the back of streaming swaps. It would have been great, but now we get to see a little bit of the difference between the two. We get to see a little of more of the impact of streaming swaps on its own. What I really wanted to comment on though was the feeling, being on Twitter. I've been grinding through Twitter, for days, and I'm just seeing old heads coming back, like Sage and Rocket Squirrel, and I can't even start naming names because it's just really great to see. It gives us time to spread more awareness. Like we're not here for like a quick this has been going on for years, right? So it's just a great way to continue to build our momentum and to continue to get the word out. And like Grassroots said, I think there's another bright side of having a little dip right now. If anybody's been eyeing Rune to add to their bag or to start one, maybe it just went on sale a little bit because of a couple people being disappointed or something. So I know I'm going to be adding too. So I'm not in a rush. I've got to admit, I was super, super, super excited for today's lending launch, but I trust you guys. Always have. I have no reason not to. And I agree. It was the best decision. So keep on Twitter, guys. Let
Couple
everybody know what's coming.
couple of responses to what you just said. One is having a pullback. One of the benefits of that is that it naturally creates volume on the protocol. We get more trade volume, right, which is collecting more fees and such. So that's always a positive thing in that regard. But the other thing, what was the thing I was going to say? Now I've lost it. God damn it. What was the first thing you said? Remind me the first thing you said.
How great it's to have a separation between launching, lending and straight. These are both incredibly huge things, and for them to happen at the same time, it would I see it as almost taking away from the impact that we can have if we have two giant explosions that are separate from each other as opposed to one all at once. And then you get to see the difference between the mechanisms and how everything's affecting the market of having streaming swaps first, giving it a little time, and then launching lending. That's, I think, what I was saying.
Oh, so I think I remember what I was going to say. You mentioned about the OG people kind of coming back, and you mentioned Sage and other people. And what's really important about that is it's not, people aren't coming back because of some sort of meme event or some bullshit partnership that maybe doesn't make any much sense. They're coming back because the fundamentals have changed of THORChain. Like the actual its product market fit has significantly shifted and changed just in the last few weeks, largely because of streaming swaps to begin with, and of course lending also shifts that as well. So it's just like, to me, it makes me very bullish that people are coming back because the reason why they're coming back is because of some really strong fundamental shift that THORChain is more positioned today to be much more successful as a protocol than it was even a month ago. And that should make, it certainly makes me bullish, but hopefully that should make the community in general quite bullish as well.
Agreed. I wish I knew who said it. If I can find it before this is over, maybe I'll post it. But one of the OGs just said today, like, yeah, everything was great. I was here. I was charged up, but something about how we were kind of just, it was hard to understand for a lot of people. He's made a couple points as to why, he might have pulled back. And just like what you said, he's back now because he's like, okay, this is big. The foundation is shifting. You're like, I see this as the foundation of the whole crypto space. Like, so many people don't even realize yet what impact this is going to have. I'm complete. Thank you.
Sweet. Thanks for coming up and sharing. And there's so many people in here. If anyone wants to come up and just share their thoughts or experiences or anything like that, obviously I got the pinned tweet on the top here just announcing the delay in lending in case anyone's just showing up right now. So that's currently being delayed pending a patch coming in the next version, which we should see over the next couple of days. But yeah, I guess right now everyone's just kind of sharing their thoughts and about the entire lending release. And it really has been cool seeing over the past, I don't know, 3 weeks or so, which is such a short amount of time, just how much the protocol I feel like has changed in just the past couple of weeks. And that's just with streaming swaps. It's been one of those pretty big changes that it's kind of changed THORChain in a couple ways, where now we're attracting these much larger swappers, a different type of swapper that we haven't really seen in the past before, which in turn is generating a lot of fees, and not just for the protocol, but for the interfaces as well. Because as THORSwap is putting in streaming swaps, and they're getting in just a swap earlier today for what is it, 2,100 ETH for Rune. There's some crazy swaps going through streaming swaps. That's all generating fees towards the front ends, which I think is like a really positive development, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that really deliver the product to the end users. So I do think that THORChain's really found its great, like a much stronger product market fit in the past 3 weeks than it has in the past. And obviously, like, that's coming on top of all the integrations work that we've been doing. Things like Trust Wallet, like Ledger, using our infrastructure to offer their users swaps, and then looking forward to the future, compounding that with lending. It's a pretty beautiful DeFi ecosystem that's happening right here. Glad to be part of it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Crossroads.
So I think understanding streaming swaps is really good. I just saw that there's also a merge request to add streaming swaps for lending. So you can see the importance there, how streaming swaps is going to underpin lending and savers in the future. So that time is really, again, to understand streaming swaps and understand all parts of THORChain for people that are new, because it's all coming. It's like all this work's coming to fruition all at once, and then that's why there's so much attention. Thanks.
I was actually going to say something very similar to that. All the years you guys have spent working on this protocol, and now it's all coming together. Everything seems to be working out. You never gave up. I mean, we've had some lows, we had some highs, but ultimately you guys kept working and kept plinking away at it and solving problems and bug fixing. And, it was a messy ride, and as it was supposed to be, ChaosNet, the whole thing. But here we are, and it's quite clear that DeFi now has a competitive advantage over CeFi. I mean, you guys did it, and we're seeing that now. The rest of the market, everyone's waking up. That's why there's so many people in this room. They realize what you guys have done, and you guys are not done yet. You guys are just getting started, and it's incredible. It really is. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and you guys should really be directed towards the entire community, because it's definitely by no means any small group that's working on this. The THORChain's core infrastructure is worked on by many different teams, ranging from like OGs to Nine Realms to independent contributors. Then you have all the front ends, and then you have all the independent researchers that are taking looks at THORChain. There's so many people that are involved with the success of this protocol. So it's pretty incredible, just like looking out at how many different people are involved with the success of this, and it really does speak to the actual decentralized nature of THORChain. And I know it's true that THORChain is one of the most decentralized products that's available in the entire crypto space. And I would definitely hold that true. I'd like to hear if you guys agree they're up on stage, like Chad or Pluto or whoever. And I also brought up a couple people from the audience.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey, Eamon.
Hi guys. So I wanted to say that the fact that people are coming back to this space, I think it's basically because most people understand that we are starting the new bull market phase, and they are looking around to find the best projects to invest on. So if you look at all the projects here, I think the THORChain is the best bet, and smart people know that THORChain is the best bet. THORChain is matured and secure. In the previous bull market, we wasn't ready for the bull market, and we had ChaosNet, we had exploits, but I think at this stage, THORChain is the most mature, and also is the only project that has a very valuable it has a lot of values to offer, and I think it's basically it's the point that every crypto project is going to end up. everything is going to be exchanged on THORChain. It's going to be the hub of the whole crypto ecosystem. So I think we should look at it long term, and it's a smart decision that you guys decided to don't rush the code and keep it safe. We expect THORChain to be the long term winner. Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. I had a question, I think maybe for Barraford or Pluto. I saw that Wolf of DeFi posted the APYs that these pools are paying now. I think, because of the streaming swaps, like the Bitcoin pool, the deepest pool was up over 1,000%. And I'm just wondering what you guys think about in terms of the sustainability of these APYs.
Well, APYs in general are kind of hard to compute because it depends upon like what time frame you're talking about. But I'll say this more generally, like that we expected the fees to go down and somewhat due to the streaming swaps because that's what it's doing. It's charging less in fees, making it more viable product for a group of people. The idea or the intent was that like okay, the people who are trading now are going to pay less in fees for at least some percentage of them. But by opening this up and allowing the market, like our market being much larger, that would kind of supplement the fees and kind of improve things. So we didn't really quite know with any kind of certainty whether fees would go up or down necessarily. We could see reasonable scenarios where it goes up and reasonable scenarios where it goes down. I think part of the reason why APYs are kind of like look like they're kind of pumping in the last week or so is because that as a dual side LP. This is less true for savers people, but for as a dual side LP, your yield has a more of a kind of a weighted on the Rune price than the asset price. And so because Rune has been basically like the biggest pumping token in crypto for the past week plus whatever it's been, it's moved a lot of value from the pools, from the savers to the dual side LPs, which causes their yield to go obviously up quite significantly. So I think that the APYs we're seeing now are that they're real. They actually are APYs people are experiencing. I don't know if it's 1,000% accurate way of putting it or not, but I can't put an actual number on it. But I think we should see if Rune's price continues to move the way it is. I think those APIs will probably stay where they are, or maybe even increase. If Rune's price kind of levels off, or even pulls down, like it's been pulled down since we made this announcement, it's now at $1.51 right now, then you probably see a little bit decrease in the APYs and so forth and so on. So I think it's a multifaceted kind of complex scenario, and there's a lot of different ways you can kind of look at it. Which case, many of those are perfectly valid. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and let me add a little bit to the APY things. This is something I talked about before, but definitely not. Okay, so APYs like vary based on a couple different things. And first off, obviously, dual LPs are Rune levered. So obviously, Rune's been performing well over the past couple days or weeks, and that means that dual LPs experience more of that. They gain more value when Rune goes up versus the asset. So that's definitely one thing. But second off, just a general point about APRs or APYs is that it's always a backwards looking metric that's essentially just it's drawing a trend line between 2 points in time. So there's a couple of variables that go into that too, where if you're looking at a short-term APR, like you're looking at 24 hours, you're looking at what was whatever value 24 hours ago and what's it worth today, and then extrapolating that to a year, right? So if you're doing that for 24 hours, that number is going to vary hugely. If I jump right now and I measure my velocity at the start of my jump and then a foot into my jump, you could extrapolate that I'm going to go to the moon and I'm going to go into outer space, right? And obviously that's not going to happen. So APRs are a completely backwards looking thing and obviously have no bearing on future performance. So people should be careful with APRs and look deeper into understanding what they mean and what you're actually looking at because APRs, it's not, if you look at 1,000% APR, I'm going to compound this in like 4 days. Obviously that's not going to happen. Like we all live in reality. We live we live in a sane world. Like obviously that's not going to happen. So definitely use your brains and try and understand like what data is actually telling you, because there's a lot of different ways to present data to be misleading. And obviously past data is not indicative of future performance. That goes the same for like a downtrend or an uptrend. If you draw a straight line between any 2 points, that's not at all indicative of where that line would go in the future if you draw it between 2 other points. So just the point I wanted to make about APRs.
Just last thing on that, but all of that is because this is dealing mostly real yield, right? And other protocols, like a lot of yield things that have been out there, especially like further back, when DeFi was really crazy. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna dump a whole bunch of tokens into this pool every day, and the APY is going to be 50% to 40,000%, whatever it's going to be, right? Whereas in this case, like, yeah, it's actually dependent on the real usage and all the price movement of Rune, like Chad said. So, yeah, you already covered it, but backwards looking, not necessarily forwards looking, but yeah, they've definitely been way up.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks. In my mind, I'm trying to balance how much of it's from all the new volume and how much of it's from the price. But obviously, it makes a lot of sense. If the price is mooning, then the APYs are going to moon as well. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Yasha, hey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
So
What's up?
I just wanted to say that THORChain in general is like one of the most exciting things that is being built right now, and you don't get that very often. Back in the DeFi summer in 2019, we had like a lot of innovations. Uniswap was like one of the biggest ones, but if you think about stuff that's being built right now, it's mostly like copy pastas and with minor changes. And it fascinates me how THORChain devs kind of bring these amazing new features all the time, all the way back from like the economic design to synthetics, and now basically just kind of using not just the technology from THORChain, but using other market participants, for example, arbitrage bots, to kind of access the whole liquidity from the whole crypto market, either it's on centralized exchanges or decentralized via streaming.
I'm not
Do we
hearing
lose
it.
him? Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm not going crazy then. Okay. Sorry, man. Can't hear you anymore.
Maybe try back in a minute.
You don't want to be the first guy to say, is he talking? And, he is, and you interrupt him.
Yeah, I think Elon should have deferred the launch of Twitter Spaces. I think that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, we get liquidated on here all the time.
Every week, dude.
One thing I'd say is that people who are disappointed by this decision that the team and the community has made here, to me, I don't see the long term of this in the sense of like, okay, we're delaying it, whatever the amount of time it is. I don't even know off the top of my head, but we're still launching the thing. It's like the fundamentals haven't shifted at all. So just like, okay, it said this week it's going to be some other point. And so, like, as soon as we start lending, I'm assuming a lot of these people will probably come back and are speaking. And then on top of that, like, we still have like so much things in front of us that we're really kind of bullish on, right? Like, memoless transactions would be one example of allowing any wallet in the world to use THORChain. Doesn't matter if it integrates directly or not, like the wallets have done so far. Order books is something I'm really bullish on. Will increase capital efficiency, increase trade volume, increase pool depths. Like, it just adds a power like a power tool or a professional tool, a trading tool for like a larger segment of the population. So it's just like there's so many things going on. Even perps is something we've been chatting about and trying to iron out a design and idea how this would work. Like there's so much still going on. Like even after streaming swap, even after lending, there's like still so many things to be bullish on. So it's just like, to me, it's just like this little, it's just a bump in the road, and it's just and in a couple of weeks, like nobody will even remember that it happened. Practically, it would just be like old news.
Not to mention things like generic message passing, which, as far as I'm aware, no one's using yet, which is baked into the protocol already. It's live today. So you can do generic message passing, which, as far as I know, entire networks are spinning up right now to try and do this cross-chain generic message passing thing, which is just something that we just flipped on THORChain a couple of weeks ago, which no one's making use of yet, but something we're definitely looking into. And major new integrations, which obviously, we wouldn't want to announce those before they're ready. But we're looking forward to some pretty big integrations. People using THORChain for savers, for swaps, and then hopefully after some baking, we get THORChain lending offered in some pretty major venues. So we're looking forward to seeing where we can push it. Just on the integrations front, not only with swaps, which obviously that's one of the huge value drivers of just getting THORChain swaps into the hands of as many people as possible and really making that accessible to a lot of people. But we also have savers, we have lending, which then we can start shipping out and just getting it into the hands of more people, not just people who know to go on THORSwap or Lens to take out a loan. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I was chatting with one of the other core team members the other day, and we were saying how when the market goes bull again and the industry is just gets more engaged and that kind of stuff, and people are still pretty sleepy these days, but like the position that THORChain is in on this coming bull market versus the position that it was in the last bull market are like night and fucking day. Like there's completely far away from each other in terms of how well we are positioned. Like Nine Realms is killing it with their integrations, and there's more coming up that are super massive that I really can't talk about yet, and I wish I could. But there's major features like loans and streaming swaps. There's just so much is positioned so positively for this network that when we go back to the bull market and whatever time frame that's going to be, we're going to be in a better position by at least 100x in terms of how well positioned we are as a protocol. I'm not saying 100x the price necessarily, but 100x in terms of how well positioned. It just makes me incredibly bullish on this protocol, but to such a relatively extreme amount. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, even if you look at just the integrations that are already announced, like Ledger, which is obviously one of the biggest names in the space, and something that the THORSwap team has been working on hard over the past number of weeks. Right now they're live in the Discover tab, and it's just a lot of work getting gearing up to actually be a more major provider in Ledger. So even just that, so you look at how much volume that Trust Wallet drives through THORChain, which is an incredible amount, and you look at how much liquidity fees their users produce just off making swaps. You see giant swaps firing off in Trust Wallet all the time. I know a lot of you guys have seen these alerts and things like that of just the size that's kind of going through there and generating fees. But if just one integration kind of changes the landscape of THORChain sustainability and kind of flipping the block rewards, so to speak, as in liquidity fees are greater than block rewards with just one major integration. What we see after getting a whole suite of them is going to be on another level for sure.
Well, I was just watching the Rune Ranger and looking at his tweet 2 hours ago. I haven't checked, but he says that today has been the highest swap volume since May of 2022. And the day's not over, obviously. And we might exceed the highest swap volume ever. We might make history today. So that's amazing.
The biggest swap ever was today, I believe. Was it that 2,150 ETH swap? Is that the biggest swap ever in the protocol's history? And
It's
that happened
gotta have
today?
been definitely the biggest streaming swap. So I would imagine the biggest swap total.
I mean, if
Anyone?
you did that without a streaming swap, you just did it straight up, like maybe you could have done that when the market
Yeah.
was super bull and the amount of liquidity in the network was like probably what 6x what it is today in terms of like dollar value. Coin wise, I think we're much higher than it was during the bull market, but I think dollar wise we're about 6x lower. Maybe then that would be possible, possibly maybe, but still like you wouldn't be able to get that kind of size without streaming swaps.
I'm pretty sure it was nowhere near this. I mean, I think we would remember if there was a $4 million swap. But
Yeah,
yeah, that
100%. There has not been.
yeah, I'm curious to see like how that'll trend. You know, people are just becoming more and more familiar with streaming swaps by the day. It seems like it's continuing to have more every day, higher size on each every day, seemingly. Not that that's going to continue forever, obviously, but clearly, like with any new feature, people kind of tiptoe in the same way. That's how lending will go a little bit. I mean, it's going to be capped in some level, but people will obviously ape in. But yeah, I mean, clearly it's just becoming more and more adopted. So who knows? Like, I'm excited to see how big the swaps get in the future.
Yeah, I think like because the streaming swaps are largely because streaming swaps, and I'm sure lending played a role as well, but like I think Rune at some point recently became like the 15th highest traded cryptocurrency asset in the entire industry. And a lot of that's because when you swap from Bitcoin to ETH, you're doing a double swap. You're doing Bitcoin to Rune and then Rune to ETH. And so the trade volume of Rune itself, I think, increases naturally from just somebody going from Bitcoin to ETH, depending on how you want to do your accounting. But like we've already seen THORChain become like the fifth or sixth, whatever it is, largest DEX by volume, just largely because of streaming swaps just and all this kind of action happening. It's incredible to see. Like we've definitely hit our stride, and I think there's no arguing against it, really. And I'm very fascinated to see what happens over the next 6 months when there's really more time for more UIs to adopt streaming swaps other than just THORSwap. And now you start to see Trust Wallet, you start to see like Ledger integrating with streaming swaps, and like really have it kind of more take off when more UIs use it and more awareness comes through in the next 6 months or so. And then on top of that, you also have like lending happening too, which is obviously going to be like its own beast in its own right. So it's just like the next 6 months are going to be pretty bonkers.
Chad, I'm going to ask you this like every hour, but has your source messaged you back yet?
Let me check 1 second.
Because I'm just waiting for word from them before we can ship out the V119 release.
How does email work, by the way? I don't think so. Doesn't look like it.
Dang. Well, we'll all be anxiously awaiting.
Yeah, I say we give it 12 to 24 hours for the source to get back to me to make sure we're agreeing on the terms of the disclosure and that kind of stuff. I don't want to step on any toes. Obviously, this person's being a good individual, but coming forth and responsibly disclosing. So I really don't want to step on somebody's toes and such. So I want to be careful about it. But at the same time, we can't just like sit on this forever. We have to get the thing out there and at the same time. So but let's just give them like 12 hours, maybe 24 at most, and we'll make a decision as a team how we want to move forward.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah, Chad, I think we should stay in this space until he gets back and we ship 119. What do you think?
You want to marathon this shit? Let's marathon this shit.
I think Chad could keep talking for 24 hours, no problem.
Well, I was born on October 20th, 1982. It was a Thursday.
Chad just found SPF's Adderall stash, and he's going to ship 119 out tonight.
Hey guys, I'm going to have to jump, but I found that tweet, and just to kind of hit Chad B's point, it was from Logan Shippey, and he said, "I'll be honest, I lost faith in Rune during peak bear FUD. I thought that THORChain was too complicated and not user-friendly enough for normies, but things changed. improved UI UX, stream swaps, and now lending. This is one of the most promising projects in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like the THORChain obviously is a very complicated project with a lot of moving parts to it, and it, in my view, it is that way because it has to be that way because what we're trying to accomplish is a very technically complex thing. If there was a simple solution to it, somebody would have done it, 5 years ago. But like I always think to myself that you know, that the complexity of the protocol itself doesn't really matter in terms of from the user's perspective. Like when you get into a car and go for a drive, you don't really have to have the understanding of how a piston works or a carburetor works or like spark plugs or like very few people actually understand these concepts. But what they need to understand is like how a steering works and how the pedals work and like that kind of stuff. And I think like as long as we keep the product itself, powerful and flexible, then we have really strong UIs like THORSwap, THORWallet, Trust Wallet, so forth and so on that are actually building very like simple and easy to understand interfaces so that people can actually trade and swap and all these kind of things. Especially as we get into more like the pro features like order books, for example, and a lot of people to start using more pro features on THORChain to kind of ascertain a different kind of audience or different kind of market. I think that's just all going to be bullish for the protocol in the long term, even if the mechanics underneath it all are quite complex and hard to understand.
Sorry, guys. I want to ask something about the next steps. You just mentioned order books, and I saw somewhere somebody talking about preps. I just wanted to ask, how does the prep is going to look like, and how does it going to work?
So the perps design is something that's like being actively worked on, and nothing is final at this point, of course. Even with, just to give some context, like even the lending design that we kind of landed on, like myself and other individuals who were part of the design of it, we went through many iterations over a long period of time. Like we've been working on ideas around lending for probably close to 2 years now. The one we're actually shipping now was actually the idea was what came up about a year ago. So it's taken us a year just from the ideation to the actual shipment of this particular feature. In large part because it's complicated, a lot of moving parts. We want to do a lot of auditing, that kind of thing. But like perps, I think so far in the thinking of perps, like there's nothing crazy about it. There's no liquidations or like anything like outside of the normal spec of what we typically see in perps. But they would likely use derived assets just as lending is. And so when people take a perps position, they're trading into a derived asset and then taking a long or a short position. The network is taking profit on the entry and exit through swaps. We're also burning Rune as part of that. If you're minting or burning a perp, you're also minting and burning Rune permanently. And then on top of that, we're kind of discussing this idea of what we call slip squared, which is basically a way of like liquidating early. And the liquidation, like was the early part, the extra part, would just be burned forever, which so the protocol would benefit just by forever burning more Rune and just removing more derived assets from the network itself, which is also very positive for the protocol. And then the value itself outside of the extra would just go to the longs, or they'll go to the shorts, the other side, whatever side is being liquidated, the other side of it. So in the end, you end up having a perps design that is obviously cross-chain, and that by itself is monumentally large. But also, it just basically prints money for the protocol. Either the reserve is profiting or the LPs. A reserve is profiting or the Rune holders are profiting in quite a good amount. So that's why we're kind of excited about it in part because it would just be super profitable for the protocol. And also, it will likely, change the trade volume of the network quite significantly. We've seen, like, I saw a tweet from Zaki just the other day that, like, I can't remember what the name of the protocol was. Some perps protocol on Cosmos exceeded the trade volume of Osmosis just because it's a perps, and perps like are just super in demand. Like people are coming in all the time. So I would imagine that the trade volume on THORChain would be, I think it would be, for me, it would be pretty conservative to say 2x on the trade volume. Maybe something much larger. So it's just like, I think we're all very excited with the idea of purpose. We have to make sure we nail down the idea of design. We have to be considerate about like possible attack vectors, price manipulations, like these kinds of things, which all needs to be worked out and kind of validated, researched, and these kind of things. So purpose is not close to being launched anytime soon, but it is something that we're all actively thinking on and coming up with a solid design.
Thanks, Chad.
No worries.
Hey, just set it up Juggernaut and collect XR.
Yeah, gem guys. Literally, like this is so weird. I came across like THORChain today. I was just like checking up on it, and went to follow you guys. Saw you're on a space, so now I'm gonna fucking stage with you guys. What's good? I'm not gonna stay on for long, but could you just give me the TLDR? Like, it's basically cross chain across so many different chains with optimized gas fees, right? Something like ETH to Bitcoin directly.
Yeah, Kyle, you want to? You want me to grab it?
Yeah, I got it. Sorry, I was just reveling because I'm sure you're not the only person that just like maybe just randomly wandered in here. And all right, so what we're about to say is probably an overly all right, let's just get into this. So yeah,
With
so THORChain
TLDR,
does
I'll look into
at
it
its
after.
core.
Like,
Yeah, sure. So at its core, it does cross-chain swaps. It does everything cross-chain liquidity. So we have vaults of like native Bitcoin, native Ethereum, and other chains, and the entire network is basically just security for those vaults, and then things built on top of that. So so we do cross-chain swaps. You swap Bitcoin for Ether using THORChain. THORChain is basically like a middleware chain that observes things happening on other chains and then moves its own funds according to what it observes. So it's one of the coolest projects, and I mean it is the coolest project in this space, honestly. And ever since I first read about the design, I'm sure I'm not alone here. I could not stop thinking about it, and I was just
but then
it was one of those things that was just very eye opening.
just a
Reading
question
about
on
THORChain's
the like
design, which I highly recommend for you to do.
infrastructure. Like, it's built on BNB, right?
No, so THORChain is built with Cosmos SDK, and so every Thor node runs a BNB chain client. It runs a Bitcoin client. So it runs on old Cosmos fork, and which we're one of the oldest Cosmos projects out there.
Nice, man. I'll look into it more. Thank you.
Oldest and best, Kyle. Come on, get it right.
I forgot the text. Sorry, I was reading the script you gave me, Chad. I missed a few lines, I think. Your handwriting is really bad.
I've got some videos some of my older videos that would explain the overview.
So what about in terms
if
of
you
like
want.
speed and fees and stuff? Like, how does it sit compared to like HBAR or Solana or like Ripple or something?
Yeah, so THORChain itself has 6-second block finality, but obviously you're dealing with external blockchains. So Bitcoin has 10-minute block times, Ethereum has, a minute. So there's basically two different ways to use the network. You can use it as just a middleware chain where you're putting in a Bitcoin transaction, you're sending real Bitcoin to THORChain, and then you're giving it a memo saying, hey, swap this to ETH. But you have to wait for, obviously confirmations on the Bitcoin blockchain. You have to wait for THORChain to process it. And then you have to wait for, depending on your swap size, you might have to wait for outbound confirmations. And not every chain is instant finality. So if you're going L1 to L1, it's a very variable amount of time that it could be depending on the swap size or what chains you're using, especially. But if so you could think of that as one thing. And then there's also using THORChain itself, kind of like a centralized exchange. So we have these assets called synthetic assets, which are backed by the liquidity on the protocol. And it's like synth Bitcoin, synth Ether, and you can trade those at the speed of THORChain. So you could trade those with 6-second finality all day. And make swaps to some pretty serious size if you want to. And I think of that more like, having an account on a centralized exchange where this is just it's really backed by all liquidity, all the L1 liquidity that's on THORChain, but it trades at the speed and finality of THORChain, but you can settle out to L1 at any time.
Just to put some numbers, THORChain can do about 5,000 TPS, and it's processed over 100,000 swaps in one day. So the speed's quite good, but it's obviously dependent because it's connecting L1 chains. It's dependent on that speed in the observation. But as Cal said, internally, it can go quite fast. It's not really bottlenecked. Hasn't get rich anywhere near its bottleneck.
Sorry, I just got.
Yep. And THORChain is very modular. It's not a smart contract chain. Like, you can't build and deploy a smart contract on THORChain. THORChain is built for this very specific purpose of securing liquidity on other chains. So that's the entire purpose and infrastructure around THORChain, is just thinking for how do you secure assets on other chains without using any kind of third-party dependencies, like no oracles, no API feeds, like tapping into other liquidity. It's only using what's available to it, first-party data that it can secure. So it's just a completely different model of looking at things. And yeah, hopefully that answered most of your questions. Definitely look into it. And we do these spaces fairly often. We try and shoot for every other week. So, we're around. So welcome
No, I
to
was just
the
gonna say I was
THORChad community.
looking through the tweets because I saw one earlier about someone sending like 1 million in Bitcoin or something, but I found a similar one where it's saying from ETH to Bitcoin it only took like a 0.6. I'm not even here to shill THORChain. This is literally the first time I'm come across this, so I'm just looking into it as I'm going along. But literally 0.6% percentage slip from ETH to Bitcoin on like 38 Bitcoin worth of like volume. You have higher slippage on like ETH to ETH coins, so that's crazy. I'm very bullish. I'll let you guys like carry on with like the conversation.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
shit.
I'm very happy for you, honestly, for finding out about THORChain at such a great time. So congratulations, good sir.
Yeah, honestly,
Thanks,
this is
man.
awesome. This reminds me of me and you, Cow, like a year or two ago, hosting like 6-hour marathon spaces and just explaining THORChain over and over and over to every new person. So we're here for it. There's no stupid questions. Like this is the most fascinating protocol out there, and like you gotta start somewhere.
And in
And
terms of like
Thor,
pricing, like all-time high has been what, like $20 or something. So right now about under $2. That gives it like a stretch of nearly like a 10x just to go back to its all-time high.
All right, nobody tell him about lending. Nobody say anything. You got to figure that one out for yourself. Thanks,
I've
man.
got a deal.
Appreciate you coming up.
let's just say the supply is not necessarily fixed anymore.
I have a question for this caller. Do you have a trust?
I'm sorry, I kicked him off already, but I can bring him back up.
No.
Are you asking if he has a trust wallet?
I think your connection is a little rough, Pluto.
Yeah, did you go make some cross-chain swaps? You'll figure it out pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, I know when I first read about THORChain, I spent like 2 weeks just trying to understand it and get a good grasp on it, because it really is one of the most fascinating things I've been able to come across, and that's why I'm so fortunate that we all get to be here and kind of sharing this.
No one said anything about savers either. Don't want to overload the guy.
Nah, that's all good, man. I was just gonna say I appreciate you guys letting me on, and I wasn't trolling. Like when you come onto like my spaces and stuff, you see that I use sound bites and shit all the time. You guys are welcome to join. I do like morning spaces. I know it's like probably a different time zone to you guys completely, but yeah, we do a lot of research around like different Web3 projects that are actually real, that actually have utility, that actually like building something for community, something that could actually be used for like the future of finance and stuff. Like we're all for that kind of stuff.
Speaking about that, Chad, maybe you should talk a little bit about your vision of lending and what you think that actually contributes to the space, because obviously that's one of the things that we'd love to talk about when lending is live, but it doesn't look like we're gonna have that opportunity right now. But I would love to hear like your thoughts about what you think lending actually brings to like the crypto space in general, and then obviously beyond that, like looking at um, a very broad view of what you think lending actually contributes.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from an objective perspective, think of it this way. We in this industry have been doing loans with Bitcoin almost entirely via BlockFi's and Voyagers and Celsius and these kind of things. And obviously that didn't work out so well. But it was heavily utilized. Like each one of these companies had 10 billion plus dollars worth of Bitcoin and other assets and such. So like they're not small, right? Obviously they're actually quite incredibly large. And we've never really seen, at least in my opinion, never really seen a properly done decentralized option for layer one Bitcoin. So not just Bitcoin, but other like non-EVM chains like Doge and everything else out there. That's the first thing to be mindful of. It's like we're the first and the only ones really to do proper lending for the elephant in the room, which would be Bitcoin. But it doesn't just stop right there. I think the problem that I think that a lot of people have with lending in general in the DeFi space is that it's just highly fucking stressful, right? You always have to be worried about liquidations and interest rates ballooning up in arbitrary large amounts. And so you're just constantly like stressed all the time. You're constantly looking at your phone for like what the price of ETH is or whatever the hell the asset is, and checking out what your interest rates are, and you kind of have to get out quick, and it's just very stressful. And I think what's really great about the lending design here is that because it's structured so differently than every other lending protocol we've seen in TradFi, CeFi, and even DeFi, we can do things that nobody else can do, and we can offer attributes that nobody else in the industry can do. And so in the end, you're left with a loan that, from a borrower's perspective, is basically the perfect loan from their perspective, right? They get to have, they get to maintain their exposure to Bitcoin. They get to spend their Bitcoin to, buy a car, or they get a medical emergency. Their mother has a problem, medically speaking, and be able to still have their price exposure to Bitcoin, not sell their sats. And they can do that without paying some like arbitrary variable rate interest rate, which even in the housing industry, like having a variable rate interest rate even within housing is always kind of a dangerous thing to do for obvious reasons. But also be able to do that without worrying about getting liquidated. And that's just like we've never seen that before in the industry. And it empowers people to be able to take out a loan on their Bitcoin or their ETH or their Doge or their Litecoin or whatever the hell it's going to be, and just have the sanity of mind that they can go out and they can use that money to go live their lives and improve the quality of life, whether it is buying a car, dealing with a medical emergency, whatever it is. Arbitrarily could be buying a coffee. I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter. And to be able to do that with like a peace of mind is astronomically large for the entire industry, right? And so, in my mind, when this thing launches, and it saddens me that we delayed it, but I guess we made the right choice. But when it does, we are, in my view, overnight just making the entire industry look like a bunch of dinosaurs. We've now developed an entire different lending design that makes the old one just look like dog shit, to be honest with you. That assumes that our lending design is correct and that it works and all these kind of things. And we don't know that that is correct yet, right? This is a very novel idea, experimental. It could not work. Who knows? And that's why we start small and kind of lever up over time as we see more success and confirmation that this stuff actually works. But assuming that it all works and things works as well as I think it will, or I hope that it will, then we will forever change the industry, not just within the Ethereum space, but in the entire cryptocurrency space. And I don't think that can be something that can be ignored. Just like you can't really ignore streaming swaps. Like you can't really ignore 5 basis points trades and be able to outbid every centralized exchange in the industry. You can't just ignore that shit. And you can't just ignore if we have a completely innovative and different design that empowers people much more so than they ever have in any traditional CeFi or decentralized finance scenario. So that's like incredibly bullish for the project, and obviously we benefit a lot from this. from these
Sorry,
loans
I had
being
to.
from these loans being open and such. But the industry as a whole, I would argue, benefits more from this project, from this feature, than THORChain itself does.
Just want to add to that. Just gets me wound up. Um, so I remember Celsius talking about being unbanked, like actually providing the ability to be unbanked, and obviously Celsius didn't work out. So with lending and savings and swapping, THORChain, I think, is living that vision that Celsius didn't do of being able to unbank yourself. So you're able to take out a loan and not worry about the headache of being liquidated and the interest and the expiry. You're able to have savings, put your crypto in, and earn interest in a decentralized, in a much safer way, without having to do all the wrapping, without having to do all the take on that additional risk that you have to in Eastland or other places. So it's that ultimate vision that you can do, and I think it's that delivering on that promise of what we all thought DeFi can do. So that's why lending is just probably the pinnacle of being able to do that in that decentralized way, having those that idea and vision and some of that philosophy that Bitcoin has, be decentralized, not having to have that individual trust an organization or an individual third party or someone having control. So I think not only from the end person point of view of being able to use their Bitcoin to take out a loan to live their lives with it, but it's that ability to unbank, to remove themselves from the existing system, to have an alternative in a much safer and decentralized way. Thanks.
Yeah, this is, to that point, like, this is one of the great things about this project in my mind, is that we are effectively doing everything that BlockFi was doing, everything that Voyager was doing, everything that Celsius was doing. We are doing it, and we're doing it in a complete decentralized way, in a much more fair and transparent way. And then we're also doing everything that, like, Uniswap does, for example, but instead of just doing ETH and shitcoin trades, we're doing Bitcoin and ETH trades. Like honestly, just looking from an objective perspective, like, if you just look at like those companies that were doing what they were doing, BlockFi and stuff, they were dozens of billions of dollars each. And then you have, like, Uniswap doing $400 million, $500 million of trade volume a day, just trading shitcoins and ETH, which is just, like, not the same as Bitcoin and ETH. Like, we should be 10x the volume of Uniswap, in my view. Like there's so much room to go up here, because we're providing something for the industry that the industry has never seen before, right? And it's something the industry desperately, obviously, certainly needs and wants. So just, like, it makes me so bullish on this project when we keep on just shipping these, like, just game-changing features.
Absolutely, it's the vision to deliver that outcome. That's what drives you. So that's what drives me to make the videos, to bring the understanding, so people can understand what THORChain is delivering, and then how that can impact the the individual person, as well as the industry. So that's from my point of view. Cal, I can talk about AsgardX when you got time. Just let me know.
Yeah, man, let's do it. I definitely want to hear an AsgardX update.
So I've been doing some work with some others on AsgardX to as that was the prime developer left. AsgardX is a desktop application. It's like a wallet and exchange. It's an interface for THORChain. So we recently did a release, actually 2 releases, for AsgardX to support synthetics. And then the next objective is to implement streaming swaps. AsgardX is quite a complex code base, so there's a lot of learning there. So we're going to implement streaming swaps. So then you'll be able to implement streaming swaps on a swap, which actually be really good. And then look on to implementing savings with streaming swaps, and then ultimately lending. So AsgardX provides is open source platform, so you can download the code, fork it yourself, which is really good. Not all interfaces for THORChain is free and open source like that. We have implemented an affiliate fee of 10 basis points now, which is quite low compared to other ones, which is usually 30 basis points. And we're just looking to take AsgardX and put that make that free, up-to-date, open source exchange, which I think is very important because there needs to be an independent, free, open source alternative that people can use instead of perhaps going to something like Trust Wallet or a company that's obviously profit seeking. This isn't really going to be it's more of an independent doing it for the passion type thing. So if you have any questions regarding Asgadex, I'm happy to take them.
By the way, we're just about to pass $100 million in trade volume on THORChain trade volume today, which is fucking baller.
Dude, that's insane. I think we might have had one or two $100 million days before, if I remember right, maybe earlier this year. But
I think the last time we saw something like this was when FTX had a complete meltdown, and everybody was like trading like crazy because of it. I think that's the last time we saw something like this.
Does that reset in 20 minutes? Are we just about to hit it? I'm guessing it's at 0 GMT. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Oleg might know the answer to that, or Garky.
I'm sure we could adjust the 24 hours somehow. So today is the highest trading volume day. Don't worry, Chad.
Let's
I like where
increase
your
it
head's at.
to 28 hours. Let's just do that.
the record-setting 28-hour stretch.
Hey, Mogarky, the product lead at THORSwap. What's up, dude?
Moog, you're on mute. You there?
Maybe he's pulling himself together.
He's still learning how to use Twitter. It's okay.
Yeah, so Chad, on lending launch, I guess one of the things to talk about is starting with just ETH and BTC. I totally think that's the right move as well, just to have less to monitor on the launch. That way there isn't, we're not starting lending with, just people taking out like, Doge trade, just like random like thing where there's more surface area for, and so as a more constricted monitoring area to start with just ETH and BTC. So I'm wondering, like, what you think about like expanding to the other chains. Like, what do you think we should be looking for to make the determination? Like, all right, let's open it up and start lending everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think it makes sense to start targeted, like as we always do in THORChain land. We always we don't just YOLO a launch. We generally just be very conservative of the way we launch things, and we scale things as we get confirmation that the code is good and the features baked, so forth and so on. Things are safe, etc. And I think starting with Bitcoin ETH makes a lot of sense. Obviously, that's where the most of the demand is. Like, people are looking for Bitcoin loans and ETH loans. Is obviously the most significant demand. It's actually also beneficial because those chains are kind of have a significant amount of conf counting. It makes it more safe for the protocol. Like, we can watch inbound transactions for anything unusual before it even hits the chain, like hits the Bitcoin chain, because we have to wait for X number of confirmations before we actually even act on it within the THORChain world. So that gives us an extra layer of security. Would that be less true if we did it on, like, say, Cosmos, for example? And so we have more of a lead time, and so it gives us better, more easily monitor things before things become issues, in case there's some sort of problem or bug or whatnot. But zooming out for a moment to answer your question, in my mind, like, I personally dislike the idea that we have different tiers of support of any particular chain, right? And so I don't like the idea that we, okay, we'll add swaps, but we're not going to add lending. And we'll do savers here, but we're not going to do that. And just like that just creates like a lot of governance problems, and it just allows people's personal opinions about whether asset A or asset B are good assets or bad assets to try to like govern the movement of the network. And the network itself shouldn't like have any ideas. It should be completely neutral. Like nature itself, it should be completely neutral about anything and everything. It has no idea what is good or necessarily bad. It just operates what it should. So my long-term viewpoint, if you want to ask my 2 cents, is that every chain we add gets the same treatment. And every chain we add gets access to savers, gets access to lending, and gets access to swaps for the primary asset, the main gas asset of each network. Random sub kind of coins like ERC20s and so forth and so on, BEP20 assets and IC20s and all that kind of stuff, or even tokens on Bitcoin with this whole new thing spawning. Like that is a little bit different because there's more risk involved with those things. But like generally speaking, every chain should be treated the same and get the same kind of treatment, and everybody's on an equal level playing field, and we don't have like different tiers of support for individual chains. I just want to avoid that governance fucking meltdown toxicity. It's always going to be just a point of argument and cause disruption in our community.
Hey, you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Mogart, stop buying Rune and talk to us, for Christ's sake. Jesus.
I can't stop. Sorry. I tried to join from desktop for the first time. I was excited that it told me I could, but then of course it didn't work. Yeah, the chart is definitely GMT, and there's no cheating, but it doesn't matter. We crossed 100 million already, so awesome work.
Let's go.
I think there may be some days from back in Terra Luna where we had insane volume that are no longer in the chart because the furthest it goes back is 400 days. So I'm going to dig into that and try to find out. But as far as the charts go, we're pretty damn close to record.
Yeah, I think looking at the DeFiLlama.com/dexes, DEXY, DXYS, it puts us about the fourth largest DEX in the world in terms of by trade volume, and that's a pretty remarkable accomplishment.
For sure, I think it's hard for us who are so deep in this space to remember that most people still don't know about THORChain. Like when I go to conferences and I talk to normal people or even crypto people, they're like, "Oh yeah, I think I heard about THORChain a couple of years ago." And they still don't know what you can do there. You describe it to them and they say, "Okay, but then what kind of BTC do you give me?" Like, no, real Bitcoin. And it just doesn't get in people's head, even still today in 2023. So yeah, we've achieved a major milestone with barely anybody knowing who we are still. So I think it's got a bright future.
Yeah, I can confirm that. Every time I go to a conference, I was actually at a meetup in Bali recently, and I just met a bunch of crypto people, and not none of them, but like half of them had never even heard of THORChain before, and I was like, really? Wow, this is crazy to me.
I had a question for both you and Grassroots around AsgardX, and also kind of how that could play into Archeo, and if there's any plans around that. One of the challenges of building a multi-chain interface is, getting blockchain data from all of the different chains that's reliable, and especially getting information that's affordable and, most importantly, decentralized. So I know that you've been pretty involved in that project, Chad, and I'm curious, how AsgardX looks at that problem and what their strategy is for providing that blockchain data.
Yeah, I mean, so part of the design of Archeo is to create an open and free market to solve this particular problem. And by making it easy, or as easy as we can possibly get it, for anybody to enter this market and provide access to any arbitrary blockchain, or even non-blockchain. So we could totally do it with, like, we could build open source LLMs and have those available to people as well, like even outside of the blockchain space. But once you just flood the market with supply, right? Well, then the price comes down, right? Like how much it costs to transact or query Bitcoin for transaction data or whatever. Well, if the market is just flooded with supply of people providing this, rather than just like the 3 people that do it today, so to speak, well, then the price naturally comes down, right? And so I think over the long term, I think this will probably be the go-to way to connect with blockchain information within our industry, because why the fuck would you want to do it through a centralized party when you can just do it through a decentralized one that's openly and free and permissionless and censorship resistant and all these things, and it's probably going to outbid it in terms of price. I'm guessing. We'll see in the end. Like I can't predict how prices will work out, but like I said, it's a completely free market system. So the market will figure out what is the appropriate price based upon the supply and the demand of the data.
I can say that AsgardX is built for, at the moment, very much built for THORChain, for the actual the tokens and chain supported are built to be working with THORChain, because we're trying to work some of the, I guess, decouple the back end and leverage Exchange.js. So we did that to utilize the quote endpoint as the example. So we can change, I mean, obviously it depends on user need and the direction we want to take for it, change AsgardX to pull data from anywhere, provided the we could put that into Exchange.js to create those packages if there's need to get that price data to move that into AsgardX as we currently do now, putting in some of those packages to get information from THORChain.
Cool. Yeah, I got some pings from Alchemy actually earlier today, and they said, "Hey, your use is way up. Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's actually a good thing. Our key's not stolen. We got a lot of volume, but that comes with its own problems and expenses, and relying on those centralized entities is not great for decentralized protocols. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to THOReau and just having some more options around that stuff."
How have things been going with THORSwap with the lending launch and just everything else? I mean, you guys have been absolutely killing it recently with streaming swaps. So congrats for that, and especially just that how much more revenue that drives you guys, and just being on the better path towards being able to support yourself. So that's definitely great to see. So how have things been going?
Yeah, everything's going amazing. It's been a lot of fun. Everyone is very tired. I think we'll be, secretly glad that lending is delayed so that we can get some sleep tonight. But our devs have just been, working their asses off and really crushing it. So super proud of everyone and all the work they're putting in. And, we just look forward to keep improving the UX and making it the easiest way for you to, connect your own self-custody wallet and interact with all THORChain features, and then all the other protocols that we connect you into, so that you can really use whatever assets on whatever chain for whatever reason you want to. That's what we're here for.
By the way, another kind of milestone hit, just to throw some more to you guys. We just passed the month of July's trade volume in August. So it's August 16th. We're like basically halfway through the month. We've already surpassed the entire month of July, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, it's awesome. From a THORSwap perspective, we actually hit the mark of doubling last month's volume today.
That's amazing.
And it's crazy. And that's largely because you guys implemented the streaming swaps. You guys are the first ones to do so, and people are flooding to your UI to utilize trades because for obvious reasons.
Can also say there's been like 70,000 swaps. 70,000 swaps in the last 24 hours.
That is wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, we had a couple more integrations, and it's looking like that every single day.
Yes, sir. All right, thanks a lot. I'm going to jump off, but thanks a lot for having the stage, and look forward to lending in a few days.
Yeah, man, let's do it. You guys want to stay on, or I'm not sure how much else you guys want to talk about.
I mean, I don't have anything personally, but I'm always willing to respond to any questions from the community, as I always do.
Yeah, sure. Let's just see if people want to come. I think we have a Creamy Capital up here too. Sorry if we didn't get to you before. or if anyone else would like to come up on stage, feel free to just come up and ask any questions. Otherwise, yeah, we'll probably be out of here in a couple of minutes then. All right, he's gone.
I think what I've been thinking throughout this whole space is what Grassroots started on, and just this giving us all a chance to refresh ourselves on the design. I feel like even just myself, I feel like I was so immersed in this 6 months ago or something, and now some details are definitely fuzzy. So maybe we can we probably don't want to run through the entire design right now, but maybe leave people with just where the best resources. So ideally, people can understand and spread the word about this when it does launch. So I'll start, but yeah, one resource, Grassroots Crypto's videos, definitely check those out. There is a great article from LPU on lending. What else comes to mind for you guys?
I mean, I would definitely go to the ADR and look at because I would go to the docs as well, docs.thorchain.org. Those are two good resources. And when lending gets launched, I have a Medium article already ready to go. It's ready to ship, which has it's very comprehensive, and it goes through the entire block science risk report and economic simulations, which were done. It's very comprehensive and covers pretty much the entire lending protocol and most questions you'd probably ask about it just looking at it. So, but I'm not going to release that until lending is live, because it's supposed to kind of just accompany the thing and kind of spread the word once it's live. So I'm not going to release that yet. But there is some resources there. Also in the link tree, which is in the bio here, which has recently changed, by the way. It's linktree /THORChain. Put some lending resources up on there, and all the resources I already mentioned, and anything that's good, we can pin up in that up in the top there. So if there's any really good resources people want up there, that's probably the best repository to just be able to just click and read if you want. But there's honestly so much materials out that you're going to be at it's pretty. There's a wealth of information about lending out there.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone wants to DM me, I get all the information documentation. I have it at hand, so I can just give it to you real quick as well if you just want that route. So whatever you want to
do. There's also a lending Discord channel that you can pop in and ask questions if you got some follow-ups you want to ask.
Yeah, with my video, it's 20 minutes. It goes from simplistic to more complex, so you don't have to watch all the 20 minutes, depending on how much level of detail you want to go to. And then I've also got another one that goes through the numbers in much more detail. So I guess it really depends on how much you want to know, whether you want to just get the TLDR or you want to get the deep dive. And then the docs go through the formulas and all the specific implementation detail. And then you can, ask questions and stuff like that on Discord. So just, go to those resources accordingly. If you have any questions, reach out. I think everyone's happy to answer questions.
Hey, I brought a ton from the audience. Jay Brax.
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, what's up?
This question might be answered at the wrong time, but is there any news or any thoughts on the XMR swap integration on Black? It's totally the wrong time, isn't it?
Chad?
Yeah, so let me give you the kind of synopsis on that. So one of our devs kind of peeled off and spent a good amount of time trying to build out a kind of like a fork called Black, where we could do Monero trades and such. And we got the whole thing working. I think from a code perspective, the thing is certainly functional. The problem we ran into is that the threshold signatures we're using now aren't really compatible with ring signatures at this moment. And to do that work would be a considerable amount of time and energy that I'm not sure we have those resources right now to do that. So instead of doing that, we kind of tried doing this kind of switching to using the multi-sig that XMR, the devs of Monero provided. And upon further inspection of that, there's been some recent exploits of that multi-sig, and the devs themselves have kind of urge people to not utilize that multi-sig very much, and so it just seemed like we're not really on solid footing to support Monero at this time. It's still something that I'm really bullish on. I know the other people are as well, and we'd still love to see that happen because I think that would be another like super game-changing thing to allow the most privacy-enabled
Totally.
system into a cross-chain thing. So like super bullish on it, and from a technical perspective, there's no reason why we can't accomplish it. It's just really hard and really complex, and I think we have to hire some new people in the threshold signature space to kind of like refactor and rebuild our threshold signatures to support EDDSA and ring signatures and this kind of stuff, which is no small amount of work or effort.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Sweet, thanks. Yeah, anyone else from the audience want to come up? Definitely want to do another one of these once we actually launch. We'll schedule something. I'm not sure if we'll know beforehand, when we're doing it, but let's. If you want to keep up to date, definitely obviously make sure you're following the THORChain account and just anyone that's up here like THOReau, Chad Barraford, and I think you can put notifications on for spaces. So keep an eye out. We do these pretty often too, so definitely come by and check out the THORChain spaces if you guys haven't recently. We upload them to YouTube too, so this will be up on YouTube in a bit.
Yeah, we should like call the progress live. Like, oh look, $1 million loan just opened.
That was kind of the goal of this space, but
yeah. Next
did
time,
not
soon.
turn out like that. Oh man, that would have been a lot of fun though. And
this was a good one. It turned out great nonetheless, and now we have that to look forward to. This is just the advertisement for the Super Bowl.
All right, guys, cool. Let's wrap it up then.
All right, see you guys.
Yep.
Later, guys.
Yeah.
Great job. Bye.
Did Pluto want to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I have 180 more followers until I hit 3,000, so everyone go follow me.
All right, go follow Pluto.
Yeah. Thank you.